Now let's open up this conversation now that we put the puzzle pieces together. General Dwivedi, here we are. It was, we are being told, an operation that was well planned, well structured. These were indoctrinated doctors who were deep within the system, who knew what they were doing and were working on it for months. What do you make of all the information now that we have less than 24 hours later?
Rishabh, first and foremost, our heartfelt condolences to the families of the bereaved and those who are injured. I think this is a horrific incident which needs to be condemned in the strongest of language. You have very painstakingly put the whole thing together, and I think few things stand out very clearly. First and foremost, it is now a different pattern where the well-educated, well-employed doctors, the white-collar terrorist modules are now actually springing up, and the Al-Farah Medical College appears to be the hub of this module or this terrorist gang. Second point is that this whole operation, actually the way they have gone about, gathering the explosive, how they have managed to get the weapons, how they have managed to indoctrinate. I think a couple of people in this module means that there's something bigger. Handlers are operating and they have put this module together. The third point is now how this whole thing have been executed. Now that's where the mystery lies. That this Muhammad Umar, the driver, he has driven into the parking area of the Red Fort, waited for 3 hours, then he drives the I-20, and there the blast goes. He is by himself, because yesterday when we were discussing, we were not clear as to was there any lone occupant or were there other people. Now the point is, did he do it in panic, or was it done in a deliberation in this area? That's one big question mark. The second point is that this whole module, how this is exactly operating, that's another very mysterious issue which the intelligence agencies are trying to home on. And the third point, now it is very clear that it wasn't the blast of the CNG, it was the blast of the explosive. Whether it had been done at the right time and the right target, or whether it was premature or panic, now that only investigation agencies will actually unfold.
Okay.
My final concluding comment is that we need to be now very careful of the new modus operandi of these terrorists, how they are operating, how these white-collar modules are working. I think that's a major challenge that's going to be for the security agencies.
So here's the snapshot. India, after Pahalgam, takes out the headquarters and terror camps of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, where several senior leaders, we now know because we've seen their funerals, are killed. The Jaish-e-Mohammed obviously is then looking to what they can do next. One man from Anantnag, from the government medical college, is caught on CCTV putting up posters, and that's where the plot unravels. Now, we've spoken to his family, his sister-in-law, we've spoken to family members of the other Dr. Shakil. All of them claim absolute ignorance. We have no idea. They're such good, hard-working people, always studying hard, always worrying about their PG courses and all not. Actually, they were running a bomb factory and becoming or about to become suicide bombers. Ambassador Mukherjee, so here we are. With the brute reality that we've not had a terror attack in Delhi in 17 years. We have probably prevented serial blasts. I'm told 3 tons of explosives has now been recovered. 3 tons of it. I can't calculate that amount of explosive. At least 20 major bombs could have been made. So we probably prevented serial blasts, but this man got away and caused this terror attack. What do we do from here? What's the reality check here?
Well, as my co-panelist just said, this is a new development, which is these so-called white-collar terrorists running these modules. But the link with Jaish-e-Mohammed is very clear, and therefore the link with Pakistan is very clear. So this is a revenge attack, which has been planned because in Op Sindoor we took out the Jaish-e-Mohammed camps, and actually we caused havoc by doing so. Now the question here is that if we could have such people operating with impunity in Delhi NCR, in Faridabad, in Gurugram, etc., and then going into such a crowded locality, and you said, Rishabh, and I saw carefully on the screen, that he waited patiently for 3 hours before he detonated the bomb. So, in my humble opinion, he meant to do exactly that, which is be a suicide bomber for Jaish-e-Mohammed in a highly crowded locality and hope for the maximum number of casualties. Uh, the fact that he was where he was, because there was speculation in the morning that he panicked and pressed the button by mistake. I don't think so, because he could not have panicked if he had waited patiently for 3 hours before leaving to do exactly what he had been indoctrinated to do. The question, in my mind, there are two issues here. A, how to conclude this investigation with our intelligence agencies as soon as possible and find out if there are any other such modules operating around Delhi or other big metropolitan cities, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, etc. And secondly, what do we plan for the future? Because we made it very clear that terror and water cannot flow together. We made it very clear that a terrorist attack emanating from or planned by Pakistan will be regarded as an act of war, which is why we first need to decide, was this a planned terrorist attack? It seems to be one. Was this a suicide bomber operating on behalf of a terrorist group operating in Pakistan with the full support of the Pakistani army and establishment and the so-called field marshal? It seems so. In which case, killing 7 civilians and possibly more, I hope not, is that an act of war, or are there other ways of it?
But ma'am, there's a conundrum here. The
Yes.
conundrum, ma'am, is that after the invasion in 47, when finally we turned the tide under Kariyappa, we thought they had learned a lesson, but they hadn't. After losing the 65 war, we thought they had learned a lesson, they hadn't. After seeing the complete dismemberment of their country, half the country has vanished and become an independent country in 71, we said, well, now for sure a lesson has been learned and they won't get up to these tricks again. That didn't change anything. Kargil didn't change anything. The surgical strike hasn't changed much. The dossiers definitely did not change anything in the interim. The Balakot strike, then the strike that has happened during Operation Sindoor. If in this entire history we are now trapped that for a person like Asim Munir, who after Operation Sindoor has promoted himself to Field Marshal, a few days ago he's become Chief of Defence Forces. I think he's the most powerful military chief now after Musharraf in Pakistan. He's being wined and dined by none other than the President of the United States. What's the deterrent here? Because no matter what we seem to do, they just don't seem to get it.
The deterrent, Rishabh, is to continue to do what we've always done, which is follow our core national interests without being bullied by any outside power, which includes the present President of the United States of America. The issue here is that we have said that from now on, after Op Sindoor, such terror attacks will be regarded as an act of war. So we need to be circumspect and to decide how do we retaliate first. Secondly, how do we ensure that no more such attacks happen in the follow-up to 26 January? And thirdly, we need to reflects on a new form of terrorism, as General Dwivedi said, which is these collared nodules. And we need to understand that the enemy is there, waiting and implacable. But there's one problem the enemy has. Before, the enemy thought he had encircled India. From Bangladesh, the chicken's neck, Burma, China, and Pakistan. But now the enemy has a problem with Afghanistan. So he cannot leave the restless Pakistan, Afghanistan Durand line, where there are states waiting to secede, and suddenly push all their forces to the India side of the border. That is where
but Ambassador Mukherjee, you've spent a lifetime in public service, in diplomacy, and it is based, the theory of it itself is based on the concept of rational actors, that people act what's in their best interest, that the country is suffering, it is economically in the biggest mess it's ever been. As we are speaking, blasts are also taking place in Pakistan, and they're not even a mention because they become routine. But when you have an irrational actor that is very happy to hold a gun to its own head, and that's its negotiating position, what do you do?
It is a conundrum, because in India our armed forces don't shoot at innocent Indian civilians. Unfortunately, the Pakistani armed forces have no such compassion. If they want to, they put down internal revolts by force and with great loss of life. So it is a conundrum. But it's a conundrum that we have faced, which was created by the British, since we became independent. We have to deal with them. And the only way to deal with a bully is by force. That's my opinion. If you don't do that, they would go back to calling us a weak Hindu state who doesn't know the first thing about war. We demolished it so many times, as you pointed out.
Quick thought, and this is an opinion, and I'm not suggesting this is a course of action, but before I come to General Katoch, if we look now, and many people are commenting about this, look at the Israelis. Now, the Israelis, they've left nothing in Gaza. There's nothing there. There's not a brick standing upon a brick left. They have, between pagers and walkie-talkies, from Lebanon to Syria to Qatar, they've wiped out the majority of the senior military leadership in Iran. They've done all of that. But beyond buying time, I don't know what Netanyahu has achieved. I think the maximum success he can say that he's bought X number of years. In these kind of intractable situations, do we then go for a reciprocal kind of solution like we've seen now in the past few years, or does it have to be something now fundamentally different?
So we have to think our way out. There's a great difference between Israel and India, Rishabh. First of all, in the UN system, Israel does not belong to a single regional group. We are a major emerging power that will one day definitely become permanent member of the Security Council. We can't behave the way Netanyahu has, in total disregard of international law and international humanitarian law. That is out of the question. Our own people will not allow women and children to be slaughtered on a daily basis and see it on their television screen. So we cannot behave like Netanyahu. We have to secure our country and our country's core interests, and that is why I'm saying, as you rightly said, it's a conundrum, that is this a one-off terrorist attack? And I don't think it was by accident that he panicked. I think he was waiting, since you showed us the photo that he waited patiently for 3 hours. He had planned it out. The point here is, should we treat this as an act of war? Or should we say 7 civilians have been killed, it's an aberration, let's wait for the next one. This is something which the political leadership, in consultation with the military leadership of this country and in accordance with the wishes of the people of India, have to decide upon.
Okay, so on the road of escalatory response, sitting around and twiddling your thumbs and writing nice letters with very good English achieved nothing. In fact, inviting the Pakistanis to your forward military and air force bases to do an inspection tour and take a few photographs was probably not the smartest of moves.
Terrible strategic.
So subsequently, there's been a ladder of it's called the escalation ladder. The surgical strike was a group of para commandos who went in specifically and hit specific camps. It was an airstrike in Balakot. What happened in Operation Sindoor is something that my generation has never seen. Which was a level of escalation where, let's face it, our forward cities were all under blackout orders. There were sirens blaring. I repeat, I've heard these stories from my father of when he was in college, of how you blacked out your windows and dug trenches in the lawn in front of your house. So a new generation experienced this because there was a level of escalation. Thanks for your thoughts, ma'am. Let me get General Katoch, who's been listening patiently. General Katoch, I want to address one point because it's troubling a lot of people, including me sitting here. Because now we've spoken to the family members of this Adil, of this Shakil. These are qualified doctors. They were studying their PG. They're in complete denial of what this man has blown himself up. It's happened. It's not an arrest of a suspicion of something that might take place. He's blown himself up. But even after blowing himself up, there is complete denial. What do we do?
Thank you, Rishabh. Rishabh, the first thing is, what do you expect the family members to say? I mean, this is the natural response of theirs. They will deny. They will say that we have got nothing to do with it. We knew nothing about it, even if they were totally involved. So I will not take any statement of any family member at face value at all. As far as I'm concerned, they were aware of what is happening and they kept quiet. That is one. Number two, prior to this with the ambassador, you were speaking of rational actors, and Pakistan is not a rational actor. I would beg to disagree there. Pakistan is a rational actor. The military is a rational actor. They are looking after the military's interests. That is where the difference lies. They are not looking after Pakistani's interests. That would, in that sense of being a rational actor. Every action of the Pakistan military has been to look after the military's interest and not the national interest. And they will continue doing so. So obviously the response has to be, when we are looking at it, is every time we take an action, we have to hurt the Pakistan military, hurt the generals, hurt them where it hurt the most, economically, militarily, or wherever it is. And that will, that has to be the deterrent policy, whether it takes place in, over a few months or a few years. I'm afraid we will have to carry on. As far as this particular incident is concerned, I have looked at it. Firstly, I mean, I went horribly wrong in my assessment. I assumed there were 3 people in the car. And if there were 3 people in the car, obviously it is not a suicide attempt. But if there is one individual in the car, I think that changes the whole picture.
The reason for that, for people watching the broadcast, is some of the eyewitnesses at the get-go had said that there were several people in the car. That's where it came from. But now we know for sure, because we've seen the CCTV footage, that there was no one, only this guy. Just to clarify. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so here is what I want to say. Now what has happened is, you see, everything I will relate to the arrests which have taken place earlier. A huge quantity, 3,500 kilograms of explosives is, even army formations don't have that much explosives. It is huge. It can cause hundreds of bombs all across. So I think there was a larger plot. This was not supposed to be planned today or yesterday or, at this point of time. I think this was something which they were planning for a slightly future date, more likely sometime in January. And there was supposed to be these explosives were supposed to have been distributed to various places and then coordinated attacks carried out. The plan got exposed. And when that plan got exposed, it is my view that this particular chap, Muhammad Umar, he realized he's going to get caught. And he said, okay, if I'm going to get caught, it'd be I might as well finish it now. I mean, that is just a theory of mine now.
I completely concur with you. That would be the logical course of events. He knew that the game was up. You have 2 options. Either you go into hiding and run for it, or you say, okay, this is what I've got and let's make the most of it.
So I think this time what he did was he said, okay, let's make the best of a bad bargain. He goes in there, he waits. Who waits for 3 hours in a parking lot? And he waited. He's not just an ordinary taxi driver. He's a doctor. And then he went out. His act was deliberate. Now, based on the present evidence, it is my view his act was deliberate. He says within his own restricted capability, he wanted to do the maximum damage, and he did it there. So, this is the way I look at it. It was deliberate. There is a cell behind it. There are more people on the roads in various heights. They may be white collars. They may not be white collars. We don't know. They may be anybody now. But I think we have to keep a very strong watch and look at where the explosives are coming from. There will be certain information which is coming out from signal channels. You can intercept quite a few of these things now.
Okay.
I think
Okay. So we have one fundamental advantage in this investigation is that we've caught the other guys, right?
Yes.
The ones who were running the terror factory, and we now know for sure that this Dr. Adil is squealing because he's the one that led to the others. He's the one who got caught first in Saharanpur, and then he revealed the location and identities of the others. Then the second gets arrested, third gets arrested. This man escaped the net. That's the miss. We've prevented the serial blasts, but this man escaped the net. That's the miss that has happened. So now, in between this Al Falah Medical College, which has now become infamous, the Anantnag Medical College, the government college, medical college in Srinagar. What have we just discovered, sir? We've discovered that in the Anantnag Medical College, if you even leave the college, you can leave a cache of ammunition and weaponry in your locker, and nobody will even notice or ask you why. I mean, these are all unhappy discoveries.
No, very frankly, Rishabh, I think all these medical colleges, they are in some way or the other involved. There are no coincidences or accidents which happen like this. There is a very deep-rooted conspiracy, and in this particular case, I think this particular cell is related to the medical profession. So there will be more doctors, there will be more people like that, especially in these medical colleges, and I think we need to get to the bottom of it. This cannot be let off lightly. It is a very, very serious affair. Fortunately, we have broken this cell. How many other cells are operating? We don't know. As part of this cell, do more moles exist? We don't know. But I think the way the police have gone about it within the first 24 hours, it has been an outstanding investigation, and I'm sure with the way they are going,
barring the miss, because it is a miss, because 8 people are dead, including the terrorists. So that is a miss. There's no running away from that. We needed Adil and Shakil to squeal a little bit more, a little bit faster to give up this man and the car number. Had we had the car number, his game would have been up as he was trying to cross the Badarpur border, because there's a toll booth there and he could have been caught there. So this was a miss. But barring the miss, we probably saved hundreds of lives, because serial blasts were clearly being planned in a future timeline. And we've caught a lot of them alive. So this immediate cell is going to be busted. General Dwivedi, but that leaves the open question of a modus operandi that we are seeing change. So if you are now Asim Munir and holding your meeting in Rawalpindi like we know he has been, okay, you are looking at yourself that you are under pressure from the JEM to do something. They are also planning, you need to assist them. You've strengthened your own position in Pakistan, you made yourself Field Marshal. Just 2 days ago, you made yourself or created a new designation, which is dictator in all but name. You know that Donald Trump loves you right now, because if you sign him a check and lick his boots and offer him a Nobel Peace Prize nomination, you become his blue-eyed boy. Now you're doing an assessment of an Indian response, and the last time was pretty aggressive. Are you afraid, or are you quietly saying that, all right, how does it make a difference to my life? They'll blow up a few more camps. It doesn't really make a difference to my life.
Well, Rishabh, you have put a very interesting scenario, and I'll take it in 3 parts. First and foremost, please, we need to understand what is the national policy of Pakistan, and it can be described in very simple words. Firstly, the threat perception, India is the existential threat. What is the strategy? Strategy is based on 3 basic parameters. First and foremost, proxy war, not to fight a conventional war. Secondly are the nuclear assets, and third are the alliances. See what kind of alliance they have developed with China. They are basically a proxy. They have developed new alliances with Saudi Arabia. They are working on as the regional, force which will protect the Gulf countries. Now, that is the way the Pakistan works. So please understand, proxy war, terrorism is part of their playbook. Secondly, now, when you come to Asim Munir, what are his priorities and what are his major issues. First and foremost, he has now put himself as the Chief of Defense Forces of Pakistan, and that means he is the strongest guy in the uniform, and rather he is running the country at will. Now, point is that as a military man, he has to always keep his national interest in mind, and his national interest is how he can keep India amused, and that is the proxy war is not going to go away. And Rishabh, I have fought not only Bangladesh, I've seen how the Pakistan army behaved. Later on, I was in the Punjab militancy. Then in Jammu and Kashmir, I have been advocating that we are fighting a proxy war. And proxy war, the modus operandi keeps changing. And today, Asim Munir is going to continue. He's not going to stop. Whether we say that every act of terrorism will be treated as war, and that's not going to actually dissuade him. And second point is the modus operandi right now. They are trying to make it very indigenized. Look at all doctors, very intellectually qualified people. Now they are in the game. They are no more just radicalized. They are very I would say qualified people. Now that brings a different complexion altogether. So if I can just conclude that first and foremost, proxy war is the national policy of Pakistan, is not going to go away. Second point is Asif Munir is always going to find some means how he can prosecute it. He has built up very good system of alliances. He has now become a blue-eyed boy of America as long as at least Trump is there. Now, Rishabh, what are our options? First and foremost, we have to have very clear national security strategy. We have to have very clear counter proxy war doctrine. And more importantly, we have to fight it in the three domains. Right across, I think, which already is happening. On the borders, we got to keep them secure. And we also need to tidy up our hinterland.
Okay, but General Dwivedi, quick, before I run out of time, I have to ask you, and I want to put the same question to General Katoj. In the families where these recruitments are going on, in these college campuses where these recruitments are still going on, okay, we are now even 6 years after abrogation, okay, after all the development activities and all the highways and tunnels and whatnot are being built, the tourism that has come in, this is different from Pahalgam. This is not three guys who infiltrated with some AK-47s, did a quick recce and then started shooting families on a picnic. These guys were planning, orchestrating, buying cars with appropriate number plates, dodging the system of registration, working to a cause and recruiting, of course, others, each other. So what do we do? How do we, what's the solution here? Because the families will tell you, oh, well, no clue, no idea. He was such a nice boy. He was always in a library studying. We had no idea that he had 3 tons of RDX in his spare bedroom.
Rishabh, now I am in the academia and deal with number of top of the line institutions, universities. First and foremost, Rishabh, we need to keep a very close eye on the medical colleges, engineering colleges, universities, because that's where now the new breeding ground. There are no more the madrasas. I think today the shift is to the high-end institution. We need to keep very close watch. I don't say that everyone is in this game, no. But there are some elements who are in this game and they need to be spotted and they need to be singled out. Point number one. The second issue is our intelligence has to be 24/7, 365. It is not that we go into lull because Delhi saw a peaceful decade and therefore nothing good happen. That's a sure warning that when there is a lull, a storm would follow sooner or later. And thirdly, I think as a nation, this is our baggage that we have.
Well, you can well imagine, sir, for the people in the intelligence and the people who were interrogating these two guys, I mean, this will haunt them for a long period of time, that they were so close to busting this module before they did anything. They almost had all of them. They almost swept up all of them. So when you're doing a bust, when you have intelligence and you know that the terror module is operating, the first port of call is to observe them to see how many people they are connecting with, so that when you do the raid, you catch all of them, because this is what you don't want, that one guy slips the net. And unfortunately, that's what happened. They caught the main guys, but this one guy slipped the net for long enough, just a few hours, less than 24 hours. He just slipped the net for long enough with enough of munitions to cause the damage that he did. General Katoch, you know, I know Pakistan a different onion to crack. I don't know how to crack or peel that onion at all. But in the reality, you know, earlier we were talking about overground workers, that who provides the cars, who provides the hawala money, who provides the recce, the scouting. We've had that conversation. But these are not overground workers. These are qualified people who have spread themselves, found a place in Saharanpur to get a job, then found some Al Falah Medical College in Faridabad, which you and I have never heard of, but will now go down in infamy. What do we do? Because you want to be encouraging young Kashmiris to step out into the country and gain employment, experience, education all over the country. It is a matter of great offense when some discrimination happens, but at the same time now you're dealing with this menace. What do you do?
Firstly, Rishabh, there should be no discrimination. That is not the solution. But what we need to do is, when a person is caught, his family is a collaborator. That should be made very clear. I mean, you know, we cannot say that, okay, this man is a criminal and the rest of them didn't know anything. They are co-conspirators. They have to be treated as collaborators, and that is the deterrent. Once people know that there is a deterrent, the families will realize that if something is happening in my house, and if the fellow gets caught, all of us buy it. And unless we take measures of that nature, I think we are going to face a problem. One. Number two, I think very frankly, despite the fact that one chap got away, I think our int has been top of the line as far as this particular case is concerned. The bigger conspiracy which was to erupt, I think you have stopped that conspiracy, and that is a great achievement. And number three, as far as Pakistan is concerned, the deterrence has to be on their military. And once you start deterring the military and they get the punishment, you will find a change in behavior. It may take time, but that change will take place. For a very long time, the military has not been touched. For the first time, we touched them in Op Sindoor, and now I think we need to touch them again, and this time make it costly that they will
I think you heard the tone and tenor of Prime Minister Modi already
Yes.
speaking in Bhutan this morning. So you know, of course, time and place of our own choosing, scale of our own choosing, fair enough. It's not like everything has happened very well. Pakistan is in de facto war with Afghanistan right now, and they thought they were running the country. So that's a crude reality check. Blasts are taking place in Pakistan as we speak. That's a crude reality check. The economic reality check is even worse. But do we have the potential to sanction the Pakistani army like the Iranian Revolutionary Guard has been? No, we can only do X. But it's a tough one. General Katoch, General Dwivedi, we leave it there. There are more breaking developments coming in. The high-level meeting that has taken place in Delhi, chaired by Home Minister Amit Shah, where he has said he's instructed senior officials to hunt down each and every culprit behind the incident. Quote, everyone involved in the act will face the full wrath of our agencies, is the instruction that has happened from a very stone-faced Amit Shah. You can see him there in the meeting. He's been out and about late into the night. In fact, all night is what I've been told, taking these briefings. All the senior officials are there, from the IB chief to the Commissioner of Police to the NSG, and very clearly, we now know less than 24 hours later who did it, what happened, what they were planning, what we prevented, and where this one rogue managed to slip the net. Many things yet to be figured out. Take a short break. Back in a minute.